Hi everyone, I'm Tallie, this is Farrell and we are bored of it, and welcome to our Best Games of 2022 look back video. As 2023 is coming to an end, we're preparing to rank our top 10 games of 2023, and that video will be coming out very soon. But we thought we'd take this opportunity whilst we're on the topic to have a look back at the games that we put in our 2022 top 10s and have a bit of a discussion about it. Have we played those games at all this year? Do we still feel the same way about them? Do we still think they deserve to be in our top 10 of last year, and so on?
So before we jump into it, just a few things to keep in mind. The first thing is that obviously as reviewers, we're kind of constantly under pressure to play new things. So it is very hard to us, probably harder than anyone who's a non-reviewer, to get back to games that we really enjoy. So as a mild spoiler, some of these we won't have played. And a lot of cases that is just because we're constantly moving on. And a top 10 of the year is also very different than a top 10 of all time. And we struggle to replay our top 10 of all time because we're always kind of moving on. And even sometimes, you know, Cult of the New, we get a new game in from Kickstarter and we're like, well, we want to play this because we want to see what it's like. Is it good? Is it exciting? And another thing that I think is really interesting in terms of how opinions can change, and this was said really eloquently by Shut Up and Sit Down, about how a review is more of a reviewer's kind of snapshot of a game in time than something that will last forever, because a year on, 2 years on, you can feel very differently about a game than at the point where you reviewed it. So it's going to be interesting to see how our feelings have changed. But we'll start by going through Tallie's top 10, we'll discuss along the way, and then we'll do the same for my top 10. So let's get to it. So I'll read Tallie's top 10 in reverse order, and then we can discuss. And I made a few comments along the way. So in number 10, we have Brindlewood Bay. Number 9, Rustling Leaves. Number 8, My Father's Work. Number 7, Ultimate Railroads. Number 6, Pampero. Number 5, Carnegie. Number 4, Villagers. Number 3, Dead Reckoning. Number 2, Mind Management. And number 1, KP Europe. So Brindlewood Bay, we've played once, I think, maybe even twice, depending when we put out the video. And how do you feel about that now?
Yeah, definitely still deserve to be there. Would like to play it more, I guess. But I do feel like it is more of a, I want to say, special occasion game, because obviously you're so dependent on, it's a role-playing game basically about being old ladies, and you're kind of in a murder-solving club, and it's a role-playing, so you need the group to be there all the time, of course, probably the same group, although I guess you could switch in and out, but because you kind of build up your character, it's better if it's the same group. And it's always just difficult to get everyone together all the time to play those kinds of games.
There's more organisation involved.
Definitely. But then I do feel like if it was something you were playing all the time, maybe you would get a bit tired of it in a way. So I'm fine with kind of playing it every now and again. But yeah, still think it's excellent, really fun. And we did try maybe one more role-playing game this
Yeah, we did
year.
Dragonbane. And I think that's also partially why we haven't played it more, because we then moved to this other RPG, and obviously that took away with our RPG group from Brindlewood Bay.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done Dragonbane so much, but I'm kind of missing Brindlewood Bay. I think the theming for me was more interesting and comical. For me, I would want a role-playing game to be funny, rather than more serious. I don't think I would be so sucked in when it's kind of more serious. But yeah, no, still think it's brilliant.
Okay, so then number 9, Rustling Leaves, which we have played a lot because it's our go-to holiday game. So we've definitely got place of that. We played it a lot when we went to Italy in June. Yep,
exactly. So it's a little roll and write. Not much to say there really. Just roll some dice, cross off some draw boxes on your little map, and it's quite nice because there's 4 different, let's say, maps on there, or player boards, papers, sheets, with different seasons on them, and you score for different things. So a lot of variety, quote unquote, for a little game like that. But yeah, still definitely one of my favourite roll and writes. Like you say, it's our go-to travel game. It has a really nice small box. You don't need a lot of space, so very easy to kind of take it when you're at a restaurant somewhere or something like that. I actually wanted to take it on our most recent holiday to Norway, but you brought some other things, so we didn't end up taking it. But I think that speaks to, for me, it still holds because I was like, no, bring Rustling Leaves.
Yeah, exactly. So still there. My Father's Work, number 8, we have played once, I believe. And how do you feel about My Father's Work?
Still think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know not to say too much about it. I still think it's a very
novel.
Yeah, I was going to say
placement.
Unique in a way. It's a worker placement, like you said, but there's a bit more of a story to it. There's an app that goes with it, kind of different scenarios, and it has a lot of, I won't say narrative, but your workers are having different characters and they can only go to certain places on the kind of worker placement map. And the map is changing even like halfway throughout the game, the kind of spaces where you go to, and the theme is kind of like Frankenstein-esque, right, is the vibe. Yeah. So it's about generational scientific research.
Generational scientific research, what a description.
It's like the grandfather, right, in the end.
In our subtitle, Mad Scientist Simulator or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. So it's got that kind of vibe. For me, it still holds totally. Haven't come across anything like it this year, particularly that would kind of take its place or anything. I would say I would like to play it more, but it's one of those things where it's can be quite long. Yeah,
I was going to say probably the reason we've only got it out once is because it does take like a solid 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that's definitely obviously going to be quite impactful on how often. You know, Rustling Leaves, we just said we got out a bunch of times because you can play 3-4 games an hour. This, you can play one game 3.5 hours.
Yeah, but I still would definitely have the desire to get it out. It's not like I'm tired of it at all. It's just maybe time constraints and, like you said at the beginning, having to play a lot of new games.
Yeah, so number 7 is Ultimate Railroads, which actually, and this surprised me because it feels like we haven't played since the last video.
Yeah, I think I did want to get it out one time when you gave me my pick of games and I maybe said like 2 or 3 that I wanted to play, but we just didn't end up going for it for whatever reason. But again, still holds, think it's fantastic. It's a worker placement game where you're kind of building railroads from one city to another. It's kind of a dry Euro worker placement.
Very abstracted in theme, but lethally brutal.
Very brutal.
So our kind of game.
Quite crunchy challenge, I would say, in terms of how you build those railroads, because there's some kind of like steps that you have to take and trying to optimize what you do there. But very satisfying at the end when you manage to like complete the railroad and kind of, you can kind of start off not scoring so many points and then you can like leap ahead, right?
It's exponential.
Yeah, so we really enjoy that. Can play surprisingly quickly for that type of game. I think we've nailed some games in an hour to 90 minutes, maybe.
No, it's less than an hour.
Yeah, right.
With 2 players. With 2 players. 2 players less than an hour for sure. It's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time we used to get it out, we would play 2 games like back to back. But yeah, still deserves to be there. Would like to play it more, but it's something that will stay in our collection, we think, forever. I don't think we will get tired of it and sell it, so we don't feel like so much pressure to get it out all the time because it will just always be there.
And on top of that, we actually, I think if you have a game, you've bought it and you've played it a lot of times, then there's a lot less pressure if you're only getting it out, I don't know, once a year, every other year, because at least you've got your kind of value from it, you could say. Yeah. And to review it, because it includes a lot of expansions, because it's Ultimate Railroads, so it includes all the Russian Railroads expansions, we actually played it quite a lot just to go through them and experience all these expansions and the different aspects of it. So, like you said, I think the combination of that and it being an evergreen for us, probably, like we'd never get rid of it because it's just exactly the kind of Euro we really enjoy.
Yeah.
There's no pressure for me, but I agree with it being on your ranking for sure. So number 6 will be quite easy. That is Pampero, which we haven't played because it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, really looking forward to playing that again. I've been thinking about it a lot in the last couple of months for some reason. Don't know why. Thinking, when are we going to get the copy? So hard to say how feelings might have changed about it. It'll be interesting to see when we do play it. But from what I remember, really like the theme. It's a Euro about making energy. I mean, we always love those types of games.
Best type of Euro.
Yeah, and it has a really cool action selection system where you have to really optimize the order in which you do things, because once you've played an action, it goes down, and then you kind of have to play all your kind of action cards and then take them all back up. So important to really think about in what order you're putting those down to be able to maximize the kind of combinations and bonuses you get. But yeah, I still believe it deserves to be on my top 10. And my feelings haven't changed because we have not played it.
So important to note that we had a prototype of this for a while to do a preview, and then we had to send it on. So that's how we got to play it. And Pampero is basically, as you say, it's heavy Euro energy production in Uruguay. But it's the, I think, first game from a collaborator of Vital Lacerda. So in terms of production and feel, it very much has that element of it. But probably maybe a little less complicated, small amount, probably. Yeah. But we very much enjoyed it because it's just our type of game. So then we have number 6, which is... No, sorry, we just did number 6. We have number 5, which is Carnegie. And we've played that a couple of times, I think about 3 times since we did the video of our top 10.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a terrific Euro. We actually didn't review it till, I think, this year. And we called it our favourite Euro of 2022. Yeah. And I don't think that's changed with our future plays. I think I've discovered, though, it's quite a hard one to introduce to people, right? Because I feel like it's a game that takes more than one play to get to grips with, because it's quite novel in how it works. And the first game is always exploratory, and then you can really get into it. But, I mean, we've played it a bunch of times, so... Yeah.
Again, I feel like I was, I'm quite, have my integrity, keeping all of my top 10. Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see the rest when we talk about them, if anything has really changed. But, again, still feel like they deserve to be there. And, again, I think that will maybe stay in our collection for a long time. Yeah. I think it's just something that's nice to pull out every now and again. Really like the kind of production of it. It's a Eno tool, right? And yeah, it's a Euro where it is kind of like, I would say, like formulaic, because it always has like 20 turns, right? And you kind of do go through the same things, but because of the way it works, where everyone takes the same action at the same time, it can be really dependent on what other people choose. Yeah. So it kind of can feel quite, I'd say, different every game, but the challenges will be different every game, and bending to what other people want to do, or maybe playing offensively and choosing an action that like nobody can do, which we would do that because we're savages. But yeah, I think it's a staple, and it will be in our collection for a long time. I really like it. Enjoyed playing it when we did a couple of weeks ago with our friend.
So number 4 is Villagers, which I don't think we've played since the video. No. And that's probably partially because we got Streets and Moon, which you could say are sequels in the trilogy of Villagers from Sinister Fish games. They kind of have like 3. They're all very similar in how they play and their aesthetics, but well, not similar so much in how they play, but there's a similarity.
The core is the same across them, just slight tweaks, I think.
So our plays have probably gone over to them. But I do want to get Villagers out again.
Yeah, me too. Again, I think it deserves to be there. And
Number 4.
I keep seeing it on the shelf in where we have those games, thinking I really want to play that again. But like you say, we've kind of recently been playing Moon. But I don't think Moon takes over from Villagers or anything like that. I think they all do their own thing, and I think it's nice to have all 3 in the collection. I don't think there's like so much.
I think Villagers is best.
Yeah, I do quite like Moon. Actually.
Some people say Moon's better. To be fair, I think we need to give Moon and Streets more opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'd probably choose Villagers if I had to really pick like one or the other. But yeah, kind of sad that we haven't managed to play that more. I mean, it's a small box game. It's like a tableau builder with some cards. And it's just about basically set collection, drafting your cards to make different combinations, and you're kind of creating a village. I don't know, attracting different people to your village.
The theme is hilarious in a dark way because apparently there's been a plague and it's wiped out the village, so you're like repopulating the village.
Yeah, so you need different professions. You need like the cheesemaker, the winemaker is very important, and they get more skilled. So
I'm not sure there is a cheesemaker in there. Is it? No, fromage. Yeah, there is fromage. Fromage. Yeah.
A cheesemaker.
Cheesemaker. True. Okay. Stand corrected.
So yeah, I think the production is very nice. It is more lightweight game, but it like really nice little package. So yeah, no, I'm still happy with that.
Okay, so then we have number 3, Dead Reckoning, and I know this one is definitely sat where it should be. We've played it like 6 times. I have recorded here since the review, and actually 5 of those has been within the last month.
Yeah.
Because we played once in summer, and then we got our Kickstarter of the Saga expansion, and we actually didn't have any of the expansions before, so we got 1, 2, and 3, the Saga expansions. So we've put those in, and we've played quite a lot recently. So, So how do you sit with Dead Reckoning?
Still deserves to be there. I'm really proud of my top 10 selection, actually, because when we do go through it, I do find it quite hard to really pick 10. Well, maybe not hard to pick 10, but to really rank them between each other. So now I'm pretty happy with, even a year on, like what I did. Anyway,
to be fair though, isn't this, so we talked about this a little bit, I believe in our video, top 10, that you rank on gut feel, and I rank almost on some element of objectivity.
You do, yeah.
So I'm quite interested because I feel like mine might change a little bit, a lot more than yours.
Yeah. Yours is more scientific. You were like, replayability, time to play, like a little checklist. Whereas I'm like, I just quite liked it.
So so basically you still like the same things you did a year ago.
Yeah, go me. Yeah, no, but Dead Reckoning, still really love it. We have been playing a lot of it. I don't think that changes my opinion. It's a really fantastic game.
How do you feel about the expansion?
I think it's okay. I think you like it more than me because you typically interact with new things.
You don't like new things. You just
like
ignore
change.
them completely.
Yeah, I just kind of carry on playing how I've always played, whereas you have a lot more tendency to actually like interact with new things. Even when we play like campaign games, right?
Well, famously the example is Rise of Fenris with Scythe, where you just ignored everything and you won like nearly every game in the campaign, and I just because all I did is play with the new things.
Yeah.
And then I lost every game, but I won overall, which is terrific.
Yeah. But Dead Reckoning for me is like a little bit like Scythe at sea. Yeah. So you score for a lot of different things. The main USP, let's say, is this kind of card crafting system where you start off with a crew of 10 to 12 crew members. And then they kind of all do different things at a baseline, but you go around the map collecting these like sleeves, and then you insert them into the cards that represent the kind of crew members, which gives them like additional powers. So I think that's also why it can be something that is very replayable, because you can definitely lean more into like combat one time, or more into trade or production or whatever, based on what kind of sleeves you're picking up to upgrade your crew. So no, really, really solid game, and it's been really nice to get it out again, even though if you've been beating me every game lately, which is like...
You did win.
I mean, I was
you won one of them.
When we were playing a lot of games where you kept winning, was like, I'm not sure about this game anymore, but that's just me being salty.
Okay, so then we have the last 2, and you haven't played either of them.
Sad face.
So number 2 is Mind Management. But to be fair, we have played Mind Management quite a few times overall. We just haven't played it since the last video. So how do you feel about Mind Management number 2?
If I was to rank them all again now, maybe I wouldn't put it quite so high at number 2. But I think at the time it deserved to be there in the context of the year. I remember at the time, the first time we played it, I think I gave it like a standing ovation, like, even though it was just us at the table, because I thought it was really novel, never played anything like that before. Thought it was really cool, really slick, like the artwork, everything about it. I just thought was really great, and I still think it's good. I would still want to play it, but it's maybe not something that I would play over a lot of other things now. I don't know. But we did play it a lot, like you said. Yeah, maybe wouldn't put it as number 2 out of all of those now, but it definitely still deserves to be in the top 10. Basically, it's a hidden movement game. It's like one against many, although we mostly played one-on-one. I think we only played maybe once or twice, right, with more people.
Maybe twice.
And yeah, it has a pretty cool theme. You're like agents and rogue agents, but the theming is based on isn't like a graphic novel.
Yeah.
So it's set in like Zanzibar, right? And then it has just some like cool art and things like that. But yeah, no, still really like it. But I think I was more buzzed about it last year. Yeah.
And then number 1, Cape Europe, obviously still your number 1 because it's still our number 1 gay 2-player game of all time. And I think, I can't remember where it was but we both had it on our top 10 games of all time list.
Yeah, I think it was maybe like number 3 or 2.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's great.
But you haven't actually played it.
I haven't played it, which makes me quite sad. But that being said, when we first got it, we played it so much.
I mean, it's in our we just did the video, right? All of its top 10 played games, and it's in there. So, we've played it a lot.
Yeah, wasn't it like we played 20 times in the first month or something?
Yeah,
maybe even more.
We played it over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
When we got it.
So, I still think it's fantastic. It's a head-to-head 2-player game. Like you said, it's in our best 2-player games of all time, or best 2-player games. And yeah, it has a really kind of fun theme about your kind of gangs of thieves going around different cities in Europe trying to get swag, basically. But you're kind of card drafting and playing cards to either side of the kind of table that you have, and it will kind of move these counters more towards you. And the more counters are on your side, the better, but you score for some other things as well, like collecting treasure and the kind of crew that you put into your thief gang will score you some points as well. And it has some nice scenarios. That's probably the wrong word, but you can play in different cities basically, which changes up the people, the characters, and the gear that's available. But it's just so slick, so cool. Plays in like 25 minutes, and just a lot of tense fun, basically. So no, absolutely holds. Sad that we didn't play it, that I didn't play it this year. You played it with your friend. But yeah, I would never get rid of Cape Europe.
No. Okay, so then we'll go to my top 10.
Ooh.
My turn.
Okay, Farrell's turn. So I'm going to read them all out. They're 10 to 1, and then we'll go through them all one by one. So at number 10, you had Mantis Falls. At number 9, Nemesis Lockdown. Number 8 was Circadian's Chaos Order. Number 7 was Carnegie. Number 6 was Onk. Number 5 was Dead Reckoning. Number 4, Ultimate Railroads. Number 3, ISS Vanguard. Number 2, Cape Europe. And number 1 was Return to Dark Tower. So number 10, Mantis Falls.
Yeah.
Thoughts, please?
Well, I don't believe we've played it since.
No.
Because I think we last played it in prep for that video to see if I wanted it in my top 10. And I still stand by it. I think it's very interesting. Mantis Falls is a 2 or 3 player deduction game. I personally think it works better at 2.
Yeah.
Social deduction game, I should say, sorry. And I think that's really novel. I think it does a great job at capturing the tension that you get if you play usually you need 6 people at least for a social deception type game. I think it really captures the tension quite well. It's really clever. I love the theme. It has its own soundtrack. And I definitely just wanted to shine light on it, basically.
Yep.
So I don't think it's something I'd ever get rid of because it's so novel in what it does and the aesthetics towards it. So for me, I think it can stay.
Yep.
I would like to definitely get it out.
Yep.
I think actually, and we probably talked about this in the video, I think it is in some ways, it can be a little flawed, like it's up to the players sometimes. There's the game, you could say, doesn't put its weight on making it work. Sometimes it's more on the players and the collaboration. And
yeah, I think that's the same with any social deduction.
No, I know.
Right.
But when we played the game for the video, I think we played two, but the first game was a bit of a damp squib, and then the second one was all right, because the first one, it just ended really quickly, because if it's cooperative rather than competitive, it's quite hard. I've never seen anyone win in a cooperative setting.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of flaw there.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. I would never get rid of it.
For what it does, really good. And now's the time of year to play it. We like to play it in winter, get loads of candles on, because the theme is a little bit dark, a little bit like, well, we always play the Twin Peaks theme tune.
Exactly.
Has that, like, kind of vibe, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. And then number 9 is Nemesis Lockdown.
Yeah, I think I can't remember if we've played it or not. I don't think we have.
We have not played it.
So, and that probably comes down to a little bit where we're talking about with my father's work, where it can be a long game. There's a reasonable amount of setup, and I think that's part of it. I would probably, I still have that number 9. I think we had a lot of fun with it. I'm not like crazy.
Desperate to play it again.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Nemesis overall.
Yeah.
But I think, again, actually a little bit because you can have a really flawed experience or you can have a terrific experience because it's very much luck driven. And you get highs and lows, you can get it out and maybe it really sucks and you will die within 30 minutes. Or you can have a game that will give you stories to tell, basically, and you'll talk about it every time you get it out from then onwards.
Yeah, very heavy time investment in the setup, isn't it? So, I think that just probably puts us off playing it. I mean, I know it's like only semi-cooperative, but still a little bit cooperative, and we don't lean towards those games, typically. Yep. All right, number 8 is Circadian's Chaos Order. We have not played that this year.
So, I do think this one, I would keep it. I definitely wanted it on my top 10 because I thought what it did was quite interesting. It mixed up a lot of different genres into one. It had the kind of root asymmetry mixed with the kind of Gaia Project Terra Mystica technology tracks. And it was very Euro at its core with a nice battle system. I think the biggest issue here is that it's quite an intense game. It takes a long time, even at 2 players. It's a lot of setup. There's a lot of asymmetry, so there's a lot of rule checking. And I think, it's a game that we said in our review we wouldn't want to play with more than 3 because of the battles. And it goes up to 5, I think. And that's like almost an all-day game, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the combat could have been streamlined as well. I think it's a clever system, but it's too intricate for the type of game it is. It's too long for having so many battles.
Tends to stifle it a little bit and interrupt the flow, right? Because if you're not involved in that battle, it can go on for such a long time. And then if you're the one not involved, I don't know, got a bit I got disengaged personally. I was like, it's going on so long. So it interrupts it a bit.
Yeah, very much. I think it deserves to be there. I would like to play it again. I'd be excited to play it again. But it's just, again, I think we said in our review, it's a tough one to get to the table. And as we say, when we're rushing through new games, it's hard to get out these 3-hour games and relearn all the rules because it's not a light game either.
Yeah. Okay, number 7 is Carnegie. We already talked about that because it was also in my top 10. Don't know if you just want to add something from your side.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in retrospect now, having played it more, and obviously it's a game we will get to the table, and considering it one of our favourite Euros of 2022, I'd probably move it up the list.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's on there. We've played it.
Yeah.
I think we've discussed it.
Yeah.
I love Carnegie. I think it's terrific.
Yeah. Agree. Okay. Number 6 is Onk. and we have played it, but it was right after our last video, so we haven't played it in a fairly long time, like almost a year.
Yeah. So I remember that game because we played with our friend who moved away, and he came back and we were visiting, and actually it went into the I can't remember what it's called now, the God merge.
Yeah.
Because so Ankh is kind of like a very tactical troops on a map game. It's really interesting because it's probably the best 2-player troops on a map game because it becomes very chess-like, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we played with more. And what happens is after a certain point, the last 2 players in kind of the ranking, they merge together to create like a super god, and then like they kind of get more actions and they get a little bit more of an edge. And that's what happened in our game, and I was winning, and you and Simonas ended up winning the game because you merged and you kind of worked it out, and it was quite fun to experience that. So I think this is the thing. Maybe I would have moved Ankh back and Carnegie forward.
Okay, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Ankh was a great design.
Carnegie has a little bit more like staying power in a way.
I think the issue with Ankh for me is that it probably deserved to be where it was if you liked it more, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Because we're going to get out less.
Yeah. Okay, so in at number 5, we have Dead Reckoning, which, like we said in my list, we have played a few times, 6 times to be precise.
So this definitely, I would keep Dead Reckoning where it is, just with the base game. I think when we've been playing it recently, we've played the Saga expansions, 1, 2, and 3. And for me, I definitely would have said it would be higher with the expansions, but we didn't have them, so that's where it is. But I really recommend the Saga expansions if you do like Dead Reckoning. I think they really expand the game world. They add really interesting mechanical elements, particularly the 3rd expansion, which adds like a whole new module, a new type of sailor card, whole new kind of gimmick to interact with.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of fun, and that's kind of why we've been getting it back to the table over and over. And obviously, it definitely deserves to be in the top 10 if we keep playing it and keep wanting to play it, because the core game is the same.
Yeah, cool. And then at number 4, we have Ultimate Railroads again. And as we said, for me, we have not played it.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel the same as you. Obviously, I felt a little bit strong about Ultimate Railroads. I think it's a great package. There's a lot of replayability. But I'm not too bothered. I mean, we played it 10 plus times by the time we got to our top 10 of 2022. So I don't feel pressured that we need to play it more, but I think because of these expansions and how different each game could be, there's a lot still to explore, and I look forward to playing more. But it is, I mean, there's a reason it's a classic, right? And I definitely am very happy with it being at number 4. Just would like to play it.
Let's play it in between Christmas and New Year. Okay, and then at number 3, an interesting one, you had ISS Vanguard, and we played it a few times since the last video. Yeah,
I think it's probably mostly me because you got a bit burnt out on it, and I started to solo it to go through. So this is probably the best example of what we mean when we're talking about a review is like a snapshot in time of our opinions, because we really enjoyed our time with ISS Vanguard. We thought it was a very interesting experience because it's a kind of story-driven narrative game, but the core is kind of dice rolling. So you're trying to get specific faces which represent skills, and obviously you can manipulate the dice a little bit and build your dice pool. But that's kind of what you're doing whenever you're doing a challenge, which is what you do to move story forward. And our biggest worry was that we'd enjoyed it. We thought the story was excellent. We thought some of the elements were really interesting, like your ship management phase. But it was that because the core of the gameplay is driven by dice rolling, it was, if this keeps going on and doesn't evolve as a mechanism, it's going to get very, very tedious and very frustrating as well. Because with that system, for example, if there was a boss or a particularly like hard challenge, the only way they had to make it a hard challenge was to do this check like 5 times. Yeah. And doing the same like dice rolling check 5 times isn't interesting mechanically. And I have to say, I got burnt out on it as well when I continued to play, because doing the same thing over and over, and like the mechanism just never evolved. And if you're doing it for like, you know, 20, 40, 60 hours of gameplay, it's really tedious and it gets really frustrating. It's also, considering the story, it's like, and it's a narrative experience, is that much too hard. And if you have to replay a mission because you died, the good stuff in ISS Vanguard is experiencing the story for the first time, and exploring these planets. So just like having to do it again, there's nothing there, and then you're already tired of the mechanism. And so I got very burnt out. So this is one of those ones where I don't regret it being there last year, but I very much feel differently about it now. And I mean, it's a real shame, because I think the story itself...
I was going to say, the story intrigued me, but just sitting there for hours, by the end of it was like fun in the beginning.
Yeah.
But like you said, just doing kind of the same things over and over again, just unfortunately lost interest in the mechanism rather than the story.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And then at number 2, you had Cape of Europe, which you have played, I think, 6 times.
Something like that.
And sadly, I've not played it at all.
Yeah, I mean, we already went through it. It's our favorite 2-player game. It's one of our favorite games of all time. Of course, it deserves to be in the top 10 from the year it came out. And I'm glad I got to play it all those times very recently. I introduced it to a friend, and we just had a lot of back-to-back games because it's very quick.
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot to say. I mean, we've harped on about Cape of Europe over and over on this channel. So if you watched it regularly, you know what we think about it.
Yeah, we do talk about it a lot, and I'm not even sorry.
No.
Okay, and then your number 1 was Return to Dark Tower, which we have indeed played a few times this year.
Yeah, so I think we played it like once for fun in the middle of the year, and then we've played it a couple times recently, because similar to Dead Reckoning, the new expansion fulfilled. So we got that and we tried it out, and that was unfortunately disappointing. I think everything it tried to do kind of failed or didn't quite make it in some way. And I think a secondary knock-on is that you can't combine the previous expansion with this expansion. So it's one or the other, and the other is far and away better. So then it's like super awkward. It's not even like you can just have a bit of it and a bit of that.
You'd always choose the other one now.
Yeah, so it was just that it has these new buildings. So you start with like 4 empty spaces where you used to have the buildings. And now you have to do certain tasks to get these buildings into play, and they have a special power. But not only are the tasks between the buildings not balanced at all, some of them you will just happen naturally through gameplay. Some are due to complete chance, and you'd have to work on it and work on it and work on it. The powers that these buildings gives are also really all over the place. Some you might only want to use once per game situationally. Another one you might want to use all the time.
Yeah, but I think it was not a surprise, but it was very interesting that was your number 1 last year, because we're not typically leaning towards cooperative games, and that is a cooperative game. But you just really thought the way it played and the way it had like simple turn structure was really good, I guess. And I think for me, I really liked it. It didn't make my top 10 because not so into co-ops, but I think it's quite good at avoiding quarterbacking, because you are kind of responsible a little bit. I mean, you can move around the entire map, but you're more responsible for like your sector, let's say. And obviously it's fun having a big old electric tower in the middle of the board that lights up, spins around and spits stuff all over the board.
Yeah, so I mean, that's true. That's why it was my number 1. I was kind of blown away by the toy factor, how strong the gameplay was, how it made you decide between doing a lot of different things, and you're always under pressure, yet the turn structure and what you actually do is exceedingly simple. The fact that the app is integrated really well and is probably the best board game app I've seen. I just had so much fun playing it over and over. And I'm really sad that the new expansion Covenant isn't that great, but it didn't really change how much I love the base game.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that now when we come to this video, I'm like more negative memories in my mind. But I definitely haven't changed how I felt about the base game or the base game with the Alliance's expansion.
Cool. So that was it. We really hope that you found that little discussion interesting. I really enjoyed revisiting our top 10 from last year. Hope that you're all looking forward to our top 10 of 2023, which will be out next week, right? And if you enjoyed this video and you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. It means a lot to us. And if you are subscribed, give us a little thumbs up. That is something we always really appreciate. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.